Hello all and welcome to my channel devopsmela. In this video tutorial, we'll be walking you through ASP.NET Core web application deployment on a Docker container. Okay, this is the agenda, and we'll be taking several steps. Firstly, we'll be creating and deploying ASP.NET Core application locally. We'll check whether the application is working locally or not, and how do we exactly create it. Second, we'll understand what exactly is containerization. We'll have an introduction and we'll see a bit of history about containers. Then we'll set up a Docker container on a Ubuntu operating system. Okay, this Ubuntu machine will be hosted on Azure. I'll walk you through how exactly we host a VM on Azure website, and once that is done, we'll set up Docker container on top of it. Next, we'll create a Docker compose file. We'll understand what exactly a Docker compose file would be, and we'll create that. Based on that, we'll create an ASP.NET image, and on which we'll be deploying our application. Okay. Last but not the least, we'll be deploying a ASP.NET Core web application on a Docker container. Okay. Before we go ahead and proceed further, let's understand what exactly Docker is. So as we all know, Docker is an open source platform for developing, shipping and running application. So it's an open source platform wherein you can deploy all your application in a container. So we'll understand that in a while, what exactly a container is and how exactly the container has grown. So what are the benefits? So Docker enables you to separate your application from your infrastructure, so you can deliver software quickly. So all your applications are isolated. There is a bridge network for communication, but all your application is isolated. So if you're making changes to one of the application, the other application won't be impacted. Okay, that's the major benefit of using Docker. You can manage your infrastructure in the same way you manage your application. Again, add-on benefits. So by taking advantage of Docker for shipping, testing, deploying code quickly, you can significantly reduce the delay between writing code and running it in production. So previously, when we were creating an application, so we have to set up a complete infrastructure, and we have to wait for the complete infrastructure to be set up. Then we test all our codes and everything. Now with Docker, we don't have to do any such thing. As soon as your code is built, immediately you can test it on and you can deploy it. Okay. Let's understand a bit of history about Docker. Then we'll move ahead for creating a ASP.NET application locally. Okay, so previously when we were working, like when we started working, so when you want to deploy an application, so a company, they have to go and purchase resources, like they have to buy CPU, they have to buy memory, they have to set up the entire infrastructure from scratch. Then once the entire infrastructure is created, on top of that you start deploying your application. Suppose if your application is not in used, so you're wasting your resources, you have already paid for it, now anyhow you have to use it, and it was quite uh, a tedious job wherein you have to set up an infra, you have to have a big admin team, you have to have a system admin team, you have to have an infra team, you have to manage your network team. So again, that was not feasible, and it was costing a huge amount of money to the companies. Then we came up with virtualization, wherein virtual machines like VMs and everything was very famous. Again, the VMs are still there. It has not gone anywhere, and it's still there. So what exactly was the difference? Even in VMs, you have to go and purchase the hardware. You have to set up your infrastructure. The only difference was on top of your hosting operating system, you had a hypervisor. It's again a tool which will segregate, which will help you to equally distribute or to use the underlying hardware more precisely. Okay, now if you see this image, we have multiple virtual machines. So virtual machines is again, it's isolated servers which was given to you, and on isolated server had their own operating system. So on top of it, you can easily install your application, you can deploy your application. So that was working good. That was good, but still on one virtual machine, if you're hosting multiple application, if suppose one of the application has few changes, and if you're making that changes, it may or it may not impact the other application. So there were cases where other application were also getting impacted because of it. So again, there was a need for something else. So here we go. We have containerized on virtual machine itself. So we came up with containers. Okay. So what difference it was making? Nothing. We'll still have a hypervisor. We still have a virtual machines, but the major difference, we have a container engine running on those operating systems. What are the benefits? Now you can deploy n number of applications on a single virtual machine, and all those applications would be isolated from each other. Even though if you're making changes, if you're deploying or making changes or removing any other application, it will not have any impact on the other application. So this is what containers does for you. So container will it's like a box which will contain all your application, and it is very easy to ship. Like if you want to it's platform independent. Okay, so if you build your container on a Windows machine, and if you want to ship it to a Linux or Mac OS, that is easily done. So that is what Docker does for you. Dockers provide you a container engine. Okay, Docker helps you to create multiple containers, and it helps you to deploy multiple applications. Okay, now this is what we talked about virtual machines. Now if you go to the cloud, like we have big shots like AWS and Azure, they have their own container services. Okay, now for a startup or for the company, they don't want to spend upfront on infra, they can easily go and have some VM setup on cloud service, and they can spin their containers. They even have container services. Okay, so this was a bit about what exactly Docker is, and a bit history about containerizations, how this entire thing has evolved till now. Now next, what we'll do, we'll go ahead and we'll set up a ASP.NET Core web application locally, and we'll check whether it's working locally or not. Then after, we create a Docker file. Okay, let's go ahead. So yes, I have opened my Visual Studio 2019. Okay, I'll go ahead and create a new project. I'll look for .NET Core. Let's go back. .NET Core application. So this is, I won't take empty one. Let's take this one. ASP.NET Core Web API C#. Okay, I'll be taking this. I'll name my project as demoproj. I'll keep it on my desktop. Place solution project in the same directory. That looks good. I'll be taking the latest .NET Core 3.1 LTS authentication none. I'll just uncheck this configure HTTPS, not required for now. I'll just go ahead and create a ASP.NET Core web application. Okay, here we go. So we have the project created. It's still loading. Let's wait. So I'll just go in the pages. I'll make few changes to the index page. So I'll just write it down as welcome to my first ASP.NET Core application. Save it. I'll just check locally whether it's working or not. Depending upon your system configuration, this may take time. It's loading right now. Okay, so my application is up. So welcome to it's a default template which I'm using. This is something provided by .NET itself. I'm not adding any templates of my own. It's a default template. Okay, so my web page is working. So I have the web page created. I have my project. Okay, our project is working locally, and this is a project file which has got created. Now these are the project contain. Now let's open a PowerShell and let's run a command .net publish. Let's do cd desktop. Let's go inside a project demoproj. Okay, this is a project. So what exactly this command will do, I'll let you know. .net publish. Okay. So this command will compile the application and it will read through all the dependencies specified, all the dependency what we have specified in a project file, and the resulting set will be saved in a directory name publish. Okay, I'll show you that. So let's run this command. Okay, if you see this, we have a publish folder created. This is what we would be putting it on the server. Let's go in bin debug. Okay, this is the file. Okay, before that we need one more. We need to set up a docker compile, docker file as well, because we would be using a docker file to create a image. So I already have that file created. So what exactly docker file is? Docker file will have a set of instructions. So when you're creating an image, these all steps would be running. Okay, so these are some customized image what we are creating. So this is what a docker file does for you. Okay, so starting from the line 1 so this is a SDK, an ASP.NET SDK which we are using 3.1. This will fetch this image directly from Docker Hub. Okay, we are even commanding to create a directory called /app. Then step 3, we are copying. So whatever files is there in my current directory, I'm copying it in this particular directory. Okay, I'm setting up a URL HTTP. I'm giving a star for all the IPs and I'm giving the port 5000. Okay, exposing, then again I'm exposing a port 5000 on for my container, and I'm just triggering .net demoproj.dll file. This is what we are doing using a Docker file. Okay, before we go and set up a container, let's create a VM on Azure. So I'm on Azure Cloud. Okay, so guys, Azure Cloud is free. Like initially it's free for a month, wherein they provide you something around 15,000 INR credit. Okay, so you can utilize it. You can sign in. If you don't have an account, you can sign it for free. Okay, and just follow the steps whatever I am doing. Right, so we'll have to create a resource. So I'll just go ahead and create a resource. I'll be spinning a Ubuntu server. Okay, free trial. The subscription is free trial. I don't have a resource group. Let me create a resource group and name it as devopsmela itself. That's my channel name. If you guys have not subscribed, please subscribe to my channel. I'll name it as demoproj, my virtual machine name. Ubuntu, I'll keep this East Asia is okay. Size is okay, pretty much good. I'll have a password as Rohit. I'll set the password. Okay, so you have to have a bigger password. It should be alphanumeric with caps, so please take care of that. Okay, inbound rule SSS 22 is more than fine. I'll set up 80 as well, because in my future lecture I'll be setting up Nginx as well, so I'll select 80 for now. Review and create, I'll keep all default. I'm not making any changes over here, so that's totally fine. Boot, I don't want. I'll keep this disabled. Review and create, so it will hardly take around 1 or 2 minutes for creating this virtual machine. Post that, we'll set up a Docker container on top of it. Okay, Let me create. Let's wait for a while, or while it gets created. Let's wait. Hold on for a while. Okay guys, so the resource is created. If I just click on go to resource, if I see the overview page, it has all my information, the resource group, devopsmela, the operating system, Ubuntu. This is the public IP. So I'll just copy this IP. I'll open putty. So I'll just type Rohit was the username. I'll just click yes. I'll just put my password, which I just set while creating this particular virtual machine. Here we go guys, I'm logged in right now. Okay, so it's an Ubuntu machine. Let's run this command to update. Okay, while this is running, there are predefined steps for setting up Docker on this Ubuntu machine. I have this step written over here. Don't worry guys, I'll be putting all this step in the description box. You can get these steps directly from there. I'll have this Docker file also. I'll have my Git repository. You can access all this information. If you want, I'll have this project created as well. This demoproj file which I have created, I'll have that for you in my Git repository. You can go and clone this. Okay, so these are the steps. We have already done this. Now let's run all this step. These are the steps to set up Docker on your machine, on your virtual machine. Just click yes. These are some dependency. There's a CS certificate required for setting up a Docker. There's a key required. So these are all steps, initial steps for installing Docker. Okay. Now we're setting the repository before we go and install Docker. Very good. We'll just update again. And this is a step to run Docker on your machine. Okay, so the Docker is installing. It will hardly take time. Let's wait for a while. Depending upon your internet connectivity. So I have a good connection. Let's see, it's on 97 right now. Okay, let's wait or let's get back. Let's wait for some more time. The Docker installation is still running on my machine. Okay guys, so Docker has been installed. Let's check if the Docker services are running or not. The command to check would be docker system ctl status docker. Okay, that's up and running. Let's check the version of Docker. Sudo docker version. Okay, so I have Docker 20.10 installed on my system. Okay, next step is to copy the publish file what we have created on my server. So I'll be using WinSCP for doing that. So I'll be copying using WinSCP. I'll be copying the publish folder on my Ubuntu machine. Let me copy the IP again. Let me edit this. Put it, save, login. Yes. will prompt me for a password which we have created. I'm not using SSH over here, so I don't have to worry about the keys and all. I have not created a key. I'm using a user ID password to be very, just for a initial, just for to ease the thing. Okay, so at the left hand side, this is the project debug.net, and this is the home directory of my Ubuntu machine. So I need this particular publish folder to be copied over here. Before that, I need the Docker file as well. Let me copy the Docker file and let me put it in the publish folder itself. Then okay, I have my Docker file as well. Let me open WinSCP. Now let's refresh this. Let's copy this. Okay, once it is copied, we'll go and check on the Ubuntu server whether we can see that files or not. Let's wait for some more time. Here we go. So it's copied. We have the Docker file as well. Let's minimize this. Let's check our server. Where are we right now? We are in the home directory. Let's ltr publish. Let's go and publish. Okay, we have the Docker file. Let me check the Docker file once before we go and run a Docker build image. Our project name is demoproj. This is the project name. demoproj.dll. This is the project name. Correct. Let's verify once. Demoproj. Okay, and everything looks good to me. Okay, let's run. So there are two commands which we have to run. First, to build this image out of this Docker file, and to run a container. Okay, the command is given over here. What exactly you have to do? So this will create an image. Let's run this. So it's downloading the we don't have that SDK image of ASP.NET, so it's fetching the file from internet, and it's already downloaded. It's now extracting. Then it will start running all the steps what we have mentioned in the Docker file. So this is a series of video tutorials. So this is the first part. In the second part, we'll be using the same image and we'll be deploying it on Azure Container Registry. Okay, in the second part. Later, I'll be adding Kubernetes, I'll be adding Azure App Services and everything. Okay, so this is all the steps which we have mentioned. So all the steps was successful. The image was created. Let's go and check that image. In order to check Docker image, we can just do ls. Okay, this is the image .NET app which we have created. It's a customized image what we have created based on our requirement. Now let's run the Docker build Docker container run command. Okay, so this will create a container. What exactly this command is doing? Okay, previous command was Docker build. We are building an image. -t, it's for tagging. So we gave a tag as dotnetapp dot where exactly your Docker file. So this is stands for current path. Right. The second, we are running a container in a detached mode, and we are allowing port 5000. This is the name of our image, which my container would be using. Let's run this. Okay, here we go, guys. The Docker container is created. Let's go and check the status. Here we go. If you see, this is the image it has used, the container ID created 10 seconds ago. This is the port localhost 5000. Okay, let's go and try and access whether we are able to access a application or not. Okay, let's try and access the web application. Okay, so the web application is not accessible. So let's go and debug like what exactly is the reason. Let's try and check the Docker container, if the Docker container is running, or if it is stopped, or if the container has failed for some reason. The container is up and running, so there's no issues at this point of time. Let's go and check on the Azure portal. Okay guys, so I have added an inbound rule. So our application works on 5000 port, so that was not added. So I've just added the inbound rule 5000. Now let's go and try if the application is accessible now or not. Okay, here we go guys, the application is accessible. That's it from this lecture. Thank you.